Wednesday, right? And how they are composed of a fluid mosaic, right? Fluid in that it can move things around, right? And it's a mosaic because it's made up of different things, right? So mostly phospholipid. It is a bilayer, meaning it has two phospholipids. Each phospholipid has a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. And so the tails face inward, trying to get away from that water, right? And then we have channel proteins, which run the whole width of the cell membrane. And then little carbohydrates sticking out on the outside of the cell, kind of acting as name tags, right? So hello, hello, hello. How are you, my friends? It is so good to see you. Hello, Natalia. Yeah, so good to see you guys. I hope you're doing well. And that takes us right down into our norms and expectations. Please don't share any personal information for your safety and the safety of others. Always keep your behavior, language, and webcam skill appropriate and respectful. Know that your participation is so important, not just for this class, but for all of your virtual classes. You really do make all the difference in the world, and you get so much more out of it when you do participate and engage. So yesterday was our asynchronous day. Hopefully you got your Ed puzzle done, which was sort of a lead up and a preview into what we're going to do today. And that is talk about cell transport. Okay. One thing I do want to make sure that I tell you is today in all of your classes, your STAR 360 grade is going to be zeroed out. Yesterday, I took, if you took the STAR 360 last week, I took your grades and I put it in the grade book. Now, there's about a 24-hour window of if you took the STAR 360 within the past 24 hours. I didn't know that you took it. It takes about 24 hours for it to show up where I can see it. So this afternoon, I will be updating those. But at 1:30, it's going to be zeroed out. So if you don't have a grade in there, if you didn't take the STAR 360, or you took it in the last 24 hours, a 0 is going in the grade book. And your grade is going to drop by about 5 points because it's 5% of your biology grade. And if you think of your grade as a score, a percentage of 100, right? That's going to be 5 points. So that's the difference between a 90 and an 85, the difference between an A and a B, or an F and a D, right? So just so you know, you still have time to take the STAR 360, but please, please, please make sure you get that done. Just saying, get it done. Get it done. If you only took one of the assessments, you'll only earn half the points. Okay. Okay. So here we are. We are on Unit 2, talking all about cells, right? Wednesday, we talked about the cell membrane, its structure and function. And so today we're going to get into cell transport. And some of this is going to be review. You probably learned much of this from 7th grade. Okay. So we're going to talk about and define the difference between passive and active transport. We'll identify diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. And then we're going to explain how active transport requires energy and moves material against the concentration gradient. I just put a link to your notes, go ahead and open those up. Click OK on question number 1, confirming that you understand how attendance and participation works in this class. Click on that activation link so that I know you are ready to go. And then we will get started. Thank you, Haley, Kendall, Nathan, Sophia, Yoselin, Kimberly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Natalia, you ready, ready, ready? You good? Awesome. Okay, let's do it. So when I say cell transport, I'm just talking about how the cell moves things across the cell membrane. Okay. And there's 2 types of cell transport. There is passive transport and active transport. So always, 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 if you hear the word transport, you know something is moving into or out of the cells. Are we good? Give me thumbs up. Give me thumbs down if you need a little bit more time. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. You guys are amazing. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so first, passive transport. Okay, passive transport is exactly what it sounds like. The cell is passive. It does not have to do anything. There is no energy involved. If the cell is just sitting there, then things can move across that cell membrane without using energy if they meet a few criteria. Okay. And we're going to talk about that criteria for each of the 3 types of passive transport: simple diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. Now, all passive transport relies on the kinetic energy of atoms and molecules. Okay. So kind of in the back of your head, remember that all particles move, right, with some kinetic energy. Even the particles that make up a solid move and vibrate, right? And that's due to the kinetic energy in that particle. And so as these particles move, they might bump into or run into the cell. And that's when passive transport is going to happen due to that kinetic energy. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Haley, Kendall, Kimberly, Nathan, Sophia, Yoselin, Natalia, you good? Ready, ready, ready? Yep. Amazing. Perfect. Okay. So first one that we're going to talk about is simple diffusion. This is the very, very simplest form of passive transport. Things that move from high concentration to low concentration, always. If you think about how water in a glass of some sort, a container of some sort, if this container weren't here, it wouldn't stay bottled up, right? It would move out until it was all spread out. And that's basically what's happening with simple diffusion. So moves from high concentration to low concentration, and it keeps moving until it reaches an equilibrium where it's equal on both sides. Now, remember I told you there's some criteria, right, for this to happen. And for simple diffusion to happen, it has to be a small molecule and it has to be non-polar. It can't be charged on any of the sides of the molecule. So things like oxygen, carbon dioxide, those simple, small, non-polar molecules are the ones that can just move through the phospholipid bilayer as their kinetic energy, as they move with this kinetic energy, right? So if they bump into the cell, they're just going to go right on through that phospholipid bilayer. Rosalind, are you good? Are you ready? Ready? Yep. Amazing. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Okay. So, next type of passive transport still does not require any energy, right? The cell is just sitting there, and that is osmosis. Now, osmosis is similar to diffusion, where the kinetic energy of the water, right, is going to be what moves it across that membrane. But what's different here is it is only the movement of water. Okay. So if you look at the beaker that is an image on both your notes and on my slide, right? You see there's a red dotted line that represents the cell membrane. Okay. It's a semi-permeable membrane. On one side of the beaker, you have something that's a solution that's really, really concentrated. Lots and lots of those little circles, right? And then on the other side, it's not as concentrated. It's more dilute. There's more water in that solution than on the other side. So when osmosis happens, it's not the particles that are moving. Notice that the circles are staying where they are. Instead, it's the liquid water that is going across that membrane. And you can see the volume on the right side of the beaker all of a sudden starts increasing, right? And that's because it's the water that's moving, not the particles. Okay. So, same thing in a cell. And what happens is that cell is going to get very, very full, and it's going to become hydrated, right? Or if it's the other way around and it's more concentrated in the cell and the water moves out of the cell's going to become dehydrated. Okay. Thank you, Sophia, Nathan, Kimberly, Kendall, Haley. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Rosalind. Natalia, you good? Ready? This is question number 5. Okay. So moving on. Okay. We've got the last type of passive transport, and that is facilitated diffusion. Now, sometimes these molecules are too big, okay, to just go through the phospholipids, or maybe it's polar, right? And it can't go through the phospholipids. So instead, it needs a channel protein or a carrier protein to go through that membrane. Okay. And that, hey, David, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. And that is what facilitated diffusion is. So again, the cell doesn't have to do anything, but this time the kinetic energy of, let's say, the glucose molecule, right? That glucose molecule is vibrating and it's moving around, and it hits the cell membrane, and it hits it right where there is a channel protein. And that channel protein acts like a tunnel, and it allows that glucose to travel from the outside in. Okay. Or maybe it's something else that needs to leave the cell. Thank you, Haley, Kimberly, Nathan, Rosalind, Natalia, Sophia, Kendall. Thank you, thank you, thank you. David, you good? Ready, ready? Okay, perfect. Now, active transport is the exact opposite of passive transport. Okay. Instead of things going from high concentration to low concentration, we are having to physically move things from low concentration to high concentration. Okay. And this requires energy from the cell. This requires the cell to actually do something. Okay. So if you are being active, you're out walking or running or doing something, you are expending energy. Same thing with the cell. Okay. And in active transport, it's using that's ATP. And if you look at any type of active transport, typically you're going to see the word ATP somewhere around it. Okay. Thank you, Haley, Kendall, Kimberly, Natalia, Nathan, Sophia, Yoselin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So question number 8 is the first type of active transport. This is the protein pump. Okay. Protein pumps move ions. They move charged atoms across the cell membrane, like sodium and potassium. These two ions, both sodium and potassium, are extremely important in your nervous system and in your muscles when they contract. They have to have the sodium potassium pump to move and change position of where the sodium and where the potassium is. Okay. Yoselin, you doing okay? Ready? Yep. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia, Nathan, Natalia, Kimberly, Kendall, Haley. You guys are amazeballs. Perfect. Perfect. And then the last type of active transport is bulk transport. Okay. This is large materials that the cell has to actively use part of its cell membrane to grab something or to pinch it off and pull it in to the cell. Okay. There are two, no worries, you're good, you're golden. There are two types of bulk transport. Endocytosis, endo is the prefix that means in. Cyte, C-Y-T, is the stem root, which means cell. So endocytosis means in the cell. So it's bringing large materials into the cell by folding that membrane around it and bringing it in. The second type of bulk transport is exocytosis. Exo meaning exit, and then cyte, cell. So exiting the cell. And this is when the large material is kind of pushed out of the membrane and the membrane folds around it and then pinches off and releases it out into the wild. Mike, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. So glad to see you. Okay, so we are going to watch just a short little video clip on cell transport to help you kind of wrap your head around the visuals a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so hopefully, again, that kind of helped you think about it and visualize it a little bit better. Important thing to remember that passive transport does not require any energy. Just like you sitting on a couch doesn't require any energy. There's 3 types: diffusion, osmosis, facilitated diffusion, and it always goes from high concentration to low concentration with the gradient, okay, in the direction it wants to go naturally. Active transport is the exact opposite, okay? It's going to use ATP, use that energy, and it's always going to go against the gradient. It goes from areas of concentration, of low concentration to high concentration. So the cell physically has to move it into the direction it doesn't want to go. 2 types, protein pumps and bulk export. Okay, so with that, question number 10 is complete on your own. Okay, which ones are active and which ones are passive transport? You can count the molecules and look at the gradient, or you can look for the energy and which ones are using the energy, right? Okay. How you feeling? Are you good? Give me thumbs up. Yeah? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Good, good, good. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazing. Okay. Last question again on your own. Okay. But just remember that the differences that between active and passive transport all boil down to energy. But both types of cells help maintain that homeostasis and helps that cell survive, right? Okay, so with that question done, submit your 2E notes and then let me know how you are feeling about passive and active transport, being able to identify diffusion, osmosis, facilitated diffusion, and could you explain that active transport requires energy and moves materials against the concentration gradient? If you're feeling okay, if you're feeling pretty good about that information, you are done for today. You are free to go, my friends. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. If you have any questions, stay and I will help you. Do remember Star 360 grades are getting zeroed out today at 1:30. Okay. I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Bye, guys.